Okay, welcome everyone. Hello. This is the weekly Monitor APM meeting. Yeah, so let's get started. The first thing I had on the agenda was just to talk a little bit about the meeting time again. I know daylight savings time is affecting people differently across the world now. In the United States, it ends this weekend, and then since I set up this meeting, I think it's probably the times are going to change for everyone who's not on the same daylight savings time schedule. So I just wanted to make sure or talk about, see if this time still works. If it's going to be, if we need to adjust it starting next week. Just wanted to see if anyone had any opinions.
What do you mean it's perfect?
What's that?
I said it's perfect for me.
Okay.
Well, it's going to be an hour later, right?
Yeah, we had our daylight saving last week, so only this week meeting shift a bit.
Okay.
But for me, it's even better. But next week it will be back to the original time.
Okay.
I know about others.
We can.
Yeah, for me it's the same. It shifted this week, but next week it's going to be back to the regular time, so we can keep the same time.
All right, good. Just I'll go on the record and say I hate daylight savings time, and I think it's ridiculous. So maybe that's just because I've had to deal with weird computer software glitches that have to do with daylight savings time.
Don't get me started on our test. I mean, if anybody tries to run our test suite, just a unit test locally, it'll fail. Many of the problems are daylight savings time problems, or whether time zone problems.
Right. Yeah, and even in the United States, not everywhere follows the same daylight savings time.
I met some friends last evening, and they said we're not running our test suite a couple of for the day after daylight savings time, just because we know all the we're going to have a bunch of flaky test break.
Great. All right. So okay, so we'll leave it. That's fine. And if we need to adjust it, if it doesn't work for people, we can always change it again. All right. I don't think, is Diraj on? Oh yeah. Diraj, you want to talk about the Monitor Sandbox project?
Yeah. Yesterday I was able to create the project on staging.gitlab.com as well. So I also have a Kubernetes cluster connected and everything is ready. I just need to clean up a few things, and then I'll make an announcement on our Slack channels, and people can go ahead and hopefully delete their clusters that they're using for staging on GitLab.com.
Can you provide some context around it? I'm not familiar.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So we spoke about this in the previous meetings. So the idea was to have a project on GitLab.com and staging.gitlab.com that people can use to demo, test new features and things like that. It could be like a continuous integration machine per se. So people can just go there and test instead of everybody creating their own projects and hogging cluster capacity. So this will be that one source of truth, hopefully. So that's what I've been trying to do for the last couple of weeks, and finally I was able to create a project and connect it to Kubernetes and see the dashboard charts on it.
Cool, thank you.
Does that thing have Prometheus Prometheus metrics endpoint, Diraj?
Prometheus, that's a good question. I think it does. I need to verify. That's a good question. I need to verify.
Here, I'll send you. I'm going to send you one that does have.
Okay.
So this is like a shared project that we can all use.
Yeah, so I created it under the monitor group. So it should be accessible for everybody. And the same thing for staging.gitlab.com as well.
Great.
And if we'll see like some things that, I mean, first of all, it's great. Thank you for doing that. I think it will be beneficial for all of us. I mean, if we'll see like things that we think are missing, do we have some sort of a way to make sure it will be added? Do we need to follow some sort of a process? You know, how should we handle this?
So
Maybe
you're
we didn't
talking.
think about it. I mean, let's say that we are on it and we think that something is missing. Maybe we need to add additional configuration because of added functionality. And how can we make sure it will be scalable? I don't think, I don't know. I don't think you will be the one that we need to keep saying, hey, we need this, we need that. Because everyone can do that, or you know, if someone will break something. I mean, do we thought about this in some way?
So if we want to make some changes, for example, if you want to add a new dashboard and test, or add a custom dashboard and test certain features, you can create a merge request and make changes, and it can be merged and you can test it. But if you find that something is missing or something is broken, if I understand your question correctly, then hopefully you should be able to see that and then create an issue. I don't know if that answers your question.
Okay.
It's super useful to have that test app, because I had to make a test app last week to do to get a chart change PR through the charts. I changed to Auto DevOps app. So you know, those things are handy to have so that you can include them in test projects. And because they didn't have any, there were no tests on for the Auto DevOps app.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. I think this will be good. And I think, yeah, if we, to get to Dove's point, I think if we have changes we need to make, I think this is a good way to kind of think about and even, dare I say, dog food some of our own product here. And we can, as they come up, if there's configuration changes or something, we can kind of work through it at that point. But yeah, if there's custom dashboard things, we can always create merge requests, create new dashboards, just like we expect our customers to, right?
Yeah, and if a
Okay.
new chart type's added, then you should always create a merge request and include that here so that everybody can see what the capabilities of this dashboard are.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Thanks. So next, I just wanted to talk about 12.6 a little bit. I know I feel like we're just getting our handle on 12.5, but we want to, so usually, so this is what we have in our handbook. I have it on my screen, but we want to start prioritizing the 12.6 backlog in the next few days here. I don't know if that's, Dove, if you have thoughts around that, but we want to make sure.
My thought is that I'm happy to do the planning properly after the last two iterations. You know, one of them I just joined, the second I was on and off. Yeah, and I do plan to start going over those in tomorrow and on my Sunday, and you know, hopefully we'll have something that we can start looking at next week.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I just like you, Dove, the last couple have been, I feel like we're always a little bit behind. So if we can push that up a little bit, that'd be great. Try to get on a regular schedule.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up just because it's kind of the end of October now, so 12.7, we should start planning in the next, by the next week or so, we should kind of have that more firmed up.
Mhm.
Okay. So one of the things that we talked about last week is starting to review any new issues. That was the next thing, but I don't know if there's other stuff we want to talk about before that.
Yeah, I have few
Maybe I'll
few
move this.
comments. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, go ahead.
So one of them is I saw that we have merged the merge request about using weights. So I don't think we used them in the last iteration, maybe just a little bit. So if it's possible to start putting on weights on the issues as it documented in the handbook, if you didn't start, put it in 10, and then start counting down. So I'll be able to prioritize the issues as we move from one iteration to another. And it will be very helpful for me for the planning. And yeah, so this is number one. And any comments on that? Concern about it?
What did you want weights on every issue? Was that?
Yeah, I think that, so here's the thing. As I mentioned, weights are important for me, at least as we are doing this test. When we are moving from one iteration to another, I need to understand if we should keep the issues that we start working on in the previous iteration, or maybe we should push them to the next one, because there are different priorities. If I'll see that there is an issue that is in the weight of 1, which means that 90% of the work has been completed already, and it is moved, maybe it's not as high priority as I thought it would be, I would still keep it on so we can finalize the feature. And vice versa, if I see an issue that has like this scale, the weight of 10, and it moves to the next iteration, and it's not as urgent or a high priority, then I would likely to move it to the next iteration. So this will be probably the only way for me to see how we can handle those, because usually it happens right as we move from one iteration to another. So maybe I have like a day or so to plan it accordingly, and I don't want to ping everyone and say, hey, what about this issue and that issue? So helping me working remotely and helping me not pinging you in weird times. If we can assign weights to the issues, and if we can assign to all of them, then it will be helpful. But if we assign to all of them, we need to make sure that we are updating them. This is very important.
So anything that's in dev needs to be assigned or have a somewhat up to date weight on it. That's what we're saying. Or is anything? I mean, if it's not in dev, it's by definition 100%, right?
If it's not in dev, I don't know. I mean, it's up to us to decide if the work we're doing before is also considered to be a weight. I don't mind saying, okay, if it's in dev, then it needs to have a weight. If it's not in dev, then we don't have to put weight, but by default it's dev.
Also, I was under the assumption that this was only for deliverables. Is that still accurate, or are we adding weights even for bugs?
I think also for bugs, because again, think about me. How will it help me if there is a bug and it's in P3? Maybe someone has already put most of the work on it, and I'll keep it so we can finalize the work. Although it is not as high priority as it.
So it sounds like it's something that we may want to add to like our async weekly update, where we just kind of, when we're updating the workflow label, we can just update the weight, for that week, and then That way, at most, we're adding weights or having to deal with it once a week, and we can kind of do it as part of our async weekly issue updates and then be done. Maybe that's a good approach. And then it's kind of always up to date anyway. And then when we realize, oh, this is going to go to the next release, it's already on there. Or are you saying that all you need it for, Dove, is just at the beginning during planning, and then basically when we need to switch them over to the next milestone?
So yes, this is where I need them. But in reality, I think that if we won't add them on a weekly basis, we end up not having them at all, or some of them won't be there. So I do need it in that time, but sometimes people probably will forget or won't do that, or will be on vacation. So I think putting them on the weekly will enforce us to follow this process.
Okay.
And it's not
I think
need to be
that's
like
okay. I mean, adding it to the
it's not doesn't need to be like rocket science. Just put the number that you think makes sense.
right. All right. Well, we can start there and just add it to our weekly async updates, and then if that's not working for whatever reason, we can mix that up. But at least that way you don't have to think so much about it. It's just you're already touching the issue, already providing an update. It's just one extra step there.
Great.
Okay. Good.
Next issue, next one. And do you mind if I share?
No, go ahead.
It just would be easier. So, where are my links? Yeah. So according to the maturity plan that we have listed on the handbook, and logging, I'll show you that. Sure. So logging in the monitor stage. Secure, release, configure, monitor. Yeah. So login is planned to move from minimum to minimal to viable. And to do so, I've created, so we have some issues. I had finally some time to work on the epics. And what I've done, I'm trying to put some order because I know that the work, first I know that the project is pretty significant, pretty large, and there are multiple issues. So I'm trying to put some order into things just so we have more control and more visibility on working toward this goal. So there is an epic moving logging to viable where basically in the proposal, I'm saying that we have multiple approach or multiple ways that we are working on. One is the deploy Elasticsearch to automatically collect application logs, then create the UI within GitLab, within the GitLab UI. And then we also have some work that we did on the existing UI that we have today. And what I've done is that I've broken it down into 3 different epics. It's not related, just a second. So I've broken it down into 3 major epics. One epic, which is this one, which is related to all the Elasticsearch issues. The other one, the Log Explorer, related to all the UI, the front-end issues that we want to make sure we have a tab, and in the tab we have all the visualization of the logs. And the third one is basically the work that we already did on getting the logs directly from Kubernetes. There aren't a lot of issues there. There are 2 more issues. I think this one is closed, and we have, I think, 1 more to support multiple containers. So basically, what I'm asking you is, whenever, and I know that this project is pretty big, whenever we are opening an issue around this project, let's be aware of those three epics. Elasticsearch, basically the top two are the Elasticsearch related one and the UI related one. Make sure to associate them to those epics. If you don't know, just mention me and I'll put them. This way we can see exactly how we progress. As I mentioned, at the end of the quarter, we need to finalize basically those three. I think most important is number one and number three. Number two, just I added because we put in some effort there, and I think it's important to have it. But I think that the majority will be focused on number one, number three, on the UI and the Elasticsearch part. So yeah, that's the update that I have around that. Any questions, thoughts, concerns?
Are we hoping to get all of this done in the next couple milestones? So it's in this quarter then?
Yeah, it needs to be in this quarter by the end of January. So in like 3 milestones, it needs to be complete. And this is why it's important to have them on the Epic so I can easily see and start assigning the right milestones. So expect that the next milestone will be very logging heavy, or the focus will be more around logs, so we can achieve this milestone. But whenever you open an issue, be aware of those three one and associate them. And if not, that just mention me, and I'll do that for you. Any concern about the time, the plan on the maturity plan?
No, I think that's good. We haven't been focused on logging quite as much, although we've been consistently doing a little bit at a time. So, but yeah, I think we can get there. I think it'll just mean more of a focus on logging than metrics,
which is fine. I mean, this is what the organization laid out, and I think we should follow this approach on this plan.
Okay, yeah, I'm fine with that. I was more just making sure I was understanding the timeline correctly.
Sure,
I think it's fine. Okay.
By the way, one more thing, maybe just to add, you notice the tracing is also scheduled to move from minimal to viable, but this is something that we will change. We will probably push this further down the year. We have some investigation work needs to be done in order to see how we can move tracing from where it is today to where we want it to be.
Okay.
Okay, back to you.
Miguel?
Hello, hi everyone. Long time no see.
What's the time?
10 p.m. 10:20. It's okay. I missed you guys. So.
Me too.
So I noticed. So I wanted to mention. I noticed a few issues that are relatively big, and big in the sense that they involve several team members in different areas. And then I wanted to discuss with you if you think that we should have more, well, first, if we should have a process to split it into smaller tasks, and who should be the responsible person for this. And second, if you all agree that we should try to keep a single assignee most of the time, because this means that we know who is in charge of this task. I see that it could be confusing if, for example, Amelia, me, and Adrian are getting assigned to the same task, and then everybody is kind of waiting on each other, or it's not clear exactly who is driving this. So I think it's good if we kind of make the rules more clear.
Yeah, I agree that it's confusing that to have many people on one issue, and we should try to split them so that one person is responsible for one issue at all times.
Does anybody see a case for having several team members assigned to the same thing?
I am working on an issue that also has a front-end UX and back-end assigned to the issue, but to me personally, it felt like it was okay because UX really needed to get involved because UX was not completely ready, and front-end and back-end need to have a little bit of conversation on that. So we were all, inactively or / actively working on it. So we were directly responsible for getting the issue ready to a ready state. So to me personally, it felt like it was okay. But yeah, I see your concern as well. And especially in most of these issues, there's a lot of discussions, and if somebody joins the discussion at a later stage, it can get a little confusing as well to understand the current status of the issue and who's the next one to, take the step. But yeah, I don't have an answer.
I would say if we know that several people have to contribute to an issue, I think there should be a main person responsible, like one single assignee. That is, if hey, the UX needs some help, and then we assign that person, and then when that work is done, it can be going to the other person. But I just, if I look at your issue, I don't know who to ask about where it is or what is the next step. That's what if the three of you maybe agree, maybe it's not so feasible for the rest of the team.
So in my issue again, so one thing UX has been good at is if something changes in terms of design or in terms of direction, they just update the description. So every time I look at the issue, I hope that the description is accurate. And if I feel like it's not accurate, I just usually go to the issue and ping UX first, otherwise PM or front end and back end. Just I know it's a lot of noise, but adding any comment on the issue or tagging directly helped me get the status of the issue. But again, I can see that it can be a bit confusing. There's some improvements we can do.
Okay, and then the second part of my question is if we want to designate some people to split issues. I spent today some time splitting issues, and I'm happy to do that, but it's not entirely clear that that's something we want to keep doing. And I just want to define that process. So if anybody would like to, or if you all think that the issue sizes are okay right now, then it's also fine for me.
I think every time when I start an issue, sometimes I don't know how big it is. So I'd expect that whoever opened the issue probably should be the one to open another issue, unless it's something that you think it's more natural for the person that start. Because normally when I'm opening an issue, okay, this is the idea, this is the plan, okay, this is where I want it to be broken down, and then maybe Miguel, maybe someone started to work on the issue and realize that we need to do more. So I don't mind if you will mention me, for instance, or the person that opened the issue, say, hey, we need another issue, maybe open it. And I also don't mind in terms of, to make sure things are working smoothly, if you think that it's clear enough, or maybe it's the technical level is the details are so low that you think, okay, I can open up an issue and close the original one, or maybe just mention the person that opened the issue, that you've opened another issue, so at least you'll be aware. Would probably makes more sense, because for me, usually when I'm opening an issue, I'm trying to assign it to an epic, and maybe if you open an issue, you want to assign it to an epic. So add mention me if you do that, or add mention the person that is original open issue.
I think I think Dov shouldn't be the person splitting the issues. I think it should be on the engineering side. And I would like, I like doing that personally, but I think it should be a little bit more on Matt and Adriel's side, because they have a bit more overview of where we can split things, or that would be my understanding.
Just to clarify, are you saying mostly that the issues that need split are the ones that are already assigned, or are the ones that are not assigned? Like, are you looking ahead to like 12.6 and wanting to see them split more, or are you looking at your current issues and saying, I kind of want to?
At the moment, because I have only seen the current issues, then I'm talking about those, and I would want the process to be, Dov has let's say a big feature he has in mind, and then he passes that to Matt and Adriel to split it up and to see how this job can be spread across the team, and it should not spend too long being so huge.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a tricky decision, right? Because issues to me are still somewhat superficial. Like, what really matters are MRs, and that's where we want everything to be as small as possible. And an issue can be either encapsulating multiple MRs, or maybe it's a 1-to-1 ratio sometimes. I don't know. I think it makes sense for us to try and split down, issues as we're planning them. If we see like, okay, this is actually going to take, this piece and this piece, then that's a good thing. Sometimes I think those implementation details, I may not have the specific, like you may look at an issue once it gets assigned and realize, oh, this actually is complicated because of, X, Y, and Z, right? And I think I'd be inclined to say in those situations, if you need help splitting it down, please ping me. I'm happy to help with that. But also feel empowered to do it yourself. If you see like, hey, I know that this and this needs to happen, I don't think you should have to wait around for who's the DRI on this issue. All of us are. I mean, in that sense, I think, kind of the GitLab way is just be biased for action. And if you see something that you want to split out, go ahead and do it. And if we decide, hey, that wasn't the right decision, who cares? We'll fix it. We'll close the issues that we don't need and go back to the original. I don't know. I guess that's, that's not to be dismissive of the concern. If there is a legitimate planning issue, then maybe we need to put our heads together and figure out what the best approach is.
I suppose my case for splitting the issues is one is that it makes more clear who can be responsible for it, and second, that it makes more clear which milestone is going to land into. If we have an issue that survives several milestones, I think it's probably because this issue is too large, and then it's just like we did maybe half of that. Yes, you're right. It came in an MR, and then that MR had a correct milestone and it got merged, but then it says missed, and then it goes to the next milestone, and then we have another little MR, and it just carries over without a defined scope. So I think that's when, if the issue, of course, if the issue stays within the milestone, I think it's the right size. But if it starts dragging, then I think it becomes hard to prioritize. Hey, how much of this is done? We didn't do the right splitting, so on.
Yeah, I really don't like those misdeliverable labels. I'm sorry. I know that that's irrelevant to this discussion. I just really don't like what they communicate. But anyway, that's separate. I'm not going to get on that right now. Let's I think for now, if you have an issue that is not properly split down, then yeah, let's make let's make me and Matt the DRIs on that, so to speak. So just ping me on an issue if you see that, hey, this needs further broken down, and then we'll start there and go from there.
Okay.
And then
it also sounds like it's not a concern of the team. It's only like mine. So like Viraj is saying maybe it's good, and nobody else is picking up. So I think maybe I'll just handle it.
I think I understand your point, Miguel. I just don't feel like I have enough insight to share valuable point of view on this in terms of the workflow in GitLab. I could relate to my previous experience that we had similar issues, that we have like the one major issue to track the progress of like whole feature, and it stays up for multiple iterations because of what you say so. And also we kind of during the process take this approach to split it down to have one assignee per issue. So like if some feature requires works on like multiple experience from multiple aspects of field of expertise status. It was like there's one issue containing, I don't know, the backend part of the work, and the other contains the front end part of the work. And there was like the one issue which like has was connected to the other two. Like say this issue for the whole feature is blocked by the two issues, the front end and the backend. So when the backend and the front end was completed, the master issue, so called it, was moved. So I think that is the case, and that could be a problem in terms of software development and project planning. And I totally agree that probably having single assignee is easier to track, or easier to even ask, like, hey, what's the deal with this? Is it gonna be delivered in this milestone or on another milestone? So we have like more control where to point, but I also could see the Dirash point of view that having a single issue brings us the space to properly discuss some cross expertise topics. So yeah, that's kind of my point of view.
That's really helpful. I think, like as you're talking, I think what I realize is that's what epics are. I mean, what you just described, like the master issue is an epic, right? That's what we call it. So, you know, if we're properly dogfooding our product, then it does sound like we should be, if there's an issue that needs broken down further, we should just promote it into an epic, and then that's where all the conversation happens. That's where all the collaboration happens. And then we have, even if an epic just contains a back-end piece and a front-end piece, it's more than one issue or more than one effort represented to get us there. So the only downside that I see to that, and maybe there's others, but the only downside I see is that epics aren't tracked on issue boards, which is kind of annoying.
I know it so well though. Like this was the same case with the Jira. So we had the issue board, and the epics wasn't tracked, so we used the issues because of that, and we make like workarounds to make it work. But maybe this is also the case which we should rise up awareness that maybe epics should be trackable, since it's apparently required and needed by many teams to have some ability to do so. So maybe it's just a side topic, but maybe we should just, I don't know, create an issue.
We should
maybe add it, it to the issue board.
I mean, even if they were like on calendars, you know, like all-day events that span across the top of multiple boards or something. I don't know. We should find something. But
no, okay. I think it's a very good point. I think I haven't looked into using epics much, but it's something that maybe we can learn a little bit more about, and see and ask more often, hey, can this be promoted to an epic? And then work from there.
I think the one thing, I think my point in all that is just if we do go ahead and promote an issue to an epic, we'll just have to be careful that we are actually adding the sub issues under there and making sure that they land within the planned milestone, right? Because Dove has taken the time to schedule it and prioritize it based on the issue board. So we need to make sure if we're creating an epic and splitting those pieces out, that those pieces land, within the prioritization we expect to see them on the issue board. So we're not creating too much confusion. And ideally, maybe having the same title and then just putting a bracketed front end or back end piece or part 1, part 2, something so that the titles don't disappear, because I know that's a pretty big point of reference for us when we look at it on the issue board.
We did exactly what you say. So we put just the B and F in the round brackets just at the very beginning of the issue to emphasize which side, which team should take over it, and it works pretty well back then. So it's a good idea.
I think I'm willing to try that. I mean, we can give it a shot, and if we don't like it, we'll iterate on that. So.
Yeah. And please, one ask is that when you do that, make sure to mention me as a CC. I don't mind, mention me to everything you think makes sense. But for this, it's very critical. So I know where this issue was moved, because I'm using the planning board a lot.
Yeah, makes sense.
One thing we've run into before that we'll have to, as we're going through this process, to think about is, if we promote an issue to an epic and that issue was a release post item, there's some trickery there, because epics don't get treated the same way for release posts. And so I don't know how we want to.
What do you mean?
One more thing to think about.
What do you not treat it as? I mean,
the
label. They don't carry the label, or
the labels. The release post item labels automatically generate content on the handbook or the website, if I understand that right. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but that only works if they're
I think the direction. Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's the direction
right.
label. That could be
the direction label. The direction label. Yeah, you're right.
Part of the problem was that epics don't show up on issue boards, so I think visibility is lost a bit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If using an epic doesn't work, we can look at using sort of meta issues. Have one issue as like just linking to other issues for that unit of work.
I think in most cases, if we're dividing an issue up, what we're really saying is there's a couple iterations here to get to where we want to be. So whatever the last issue in that like merge train is, so to speak, or the last step in the process would become kind of the one that has the release book, right? Because until that feature is complete, it really shouldn't be in our release post item. So if we have to break an issue down, then maybe whoever's doing that, it will just have to be mindful that, making sure all those product vision labels, release post item labels get added to the last step in the process, so to speak. And that way we know, okay, when this issue is complete, now this feature is like ready to be delivered.
Yeah, I guess the problem here, there's always a problem. Sometimes you don't know which issue is the last. Let's say we have like 3 issues. You don't know which one is the last one. But I mean, again, we are here not to solve all the problem and not to boil the ocean on our head. Let's try something and see if it works. This is always been my practice. Let's try, see if it works. If not, we can change. So let's go with breaking things to a minimum state, promoting 2 issues from now. Use me as a resource to try to help, bring some order to this chaos. I'm working with release post items a lot, so it will be on me. And if something fail, I will raise the flag. Then maybe we should need to change the posts.
This discussion is typically, I'd be used to having this discussion in a retro, so maybe we can move some of this to our sprint retro document to, so that we don't, we do it once a release.
Okay. think we could move on then. This is helpful. I think we need some more of this process and thinking about how we handle some of this stuff. So I like these discussions. So thanks, Miguel, for bringing it up. Okay, so then we wanted to review new issues that were created since last week. We have about 10 minutes, so I can share my screen. There we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. So it looks like there's about 12. So
yeah. So this issue I was created basically based on similar to the discussion we just had.
Okay.
I don't remember. I think Ryan asked me to open another issue based on previous issue.
Okay.
Open it.
Okay. Miguel, you had a couple here.
Yeah.
I think this was.
Yeah. So I meant to split. So we have a kind of a big epic-ish issue, which is we want to get the user to edit dashboards directly from the dashboard page instead of going through the repository files, or at least helping them to get there. So there are different kind of variants of this. One is if the file is already created, so then it should be easy to guide them to take them straight to the repository. So that's what this issue is about.
Okay.
And the other issue is if they are looking at common metrics at the default dashboard, then there should be a way for them to kind of copy the common metrics dashboard and add it to their project, so kind of independently from the default. So that's the other topic that I think Sarah just commented, that we should be careful that there are some dynamic stuff in there because the system dashboard also shows the custom metrics, and I don't know where those custom metrics are stored. I suppose they are in the database. So we should be a little bit careful there, but that's the general spirit of
those custom metrics are in the database.
So yeah, so maybe we have to think a little bit more about this, but that's the spirit of those issues.
Okay.
And then
we should probably remove the milestone from those issues, unless we are actually planning on working on them in 12.5.
Yeah, I created all of them by default on 12.5, but of course we will have to see what we can handle.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, I just say one last thing. And the reason for that the edits, the bigger issue that Dov created is scheduled for 12.5. So that's why all of these kind of mini issues are in 12.5 as well.
It's funny because we all thought it's a really small issue. Maybe we should promote it to an epic.
All right.
Turns out it's not so small.
Right.
Yeah.
Or maybe we should just change the milestone to it, right? All these prerequisites will be in 12.5, and then the actual big task will be in 12.6. I don't know.
We'll see.
I think the major, the largest part of it is the ability to edit inbuilt dashboards. So other than that, I think it's achievable.
Okay. So yeah, on all of those, we can talk in the issue because there's a lot of discussion that we talked about it last week, and so let's continue that discussion. Since we're kind of running out of time, I want to get through kind of the rest of these issues too. Yeah. So this is the next one. Adrian created this one as a follow-up.
Yeah, so it's a follow-up to the Elasticsearch chart work. So we didn't pay a lot of attention to the actual settings we use to deploy Elasticsearch. So we have to look at them specifically, number of replicas, data retention, and stuff like that. So it's pretty basic for now, and we haven't really looked at them.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Different chart types and custom metrics, Adriel.
Yeah, this was just basically to utilize our new chart types when we add custom metrics from the UI. I thought it'd be nice to have like a drop down or something so customers can write those instead of just having to use custom dashboards.
Right. Okay. This one I created, that's kind of just a placeholder for me to look at that page in the handbook. And also for this one, Dove created an issue to track the progress of the planning. So just want to consolidate that, kind of review it. So I just kind of made that placeholder for me. So I made sure that I didn't forget about it, and then I can get some feedback on a few things as I'm working on it or looking at it. All right. This one is I think a customer bug. I don't know if anyone's taken a look at this.
Who did the prioritization?
I don't know. Did I? Seth did. Well, this Wei Ming Lee did added S2. So
I think that's a support engineer.
Oh, is it? Okay. Oh yeah, but I think a customer reported it through Zendesk.
Yeah, I'll look at that.
Okay.
Let me.
Yeah, so if we need to, we can adjust the priorities to. All right. So that one, there's a couple more. Miguel, you opened this one as well. Is data point anomaly?
This was a comment from Paul, one of the maintainers, for a kind of a performance improvement on one of the charts, but it's very low priority.
Okay.
Okay.
That one. Here's another one, and we just have a couple left after this.
Yeah, same thing. There are a few lines of code where we ignore some NaN values, and I have no idea why we do that. Copy pasted that from the other chart we have, so I would like to know why.
I can answer that. We'll take that offline.
Okay. So this was just commented out or put a comment in the code or something just to explain the output of this. Okay. That sounds good. This one.
Brian and I worked on that yesterday. We got a MR. MR's.
Yeah.
Well, there's an MR merged already for it, and I think there's a additional bit of work that needs to happen to the Prometheus client mmap to prevent us from making this mistake again.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for jumping in, looking at that. That was helpful. We kind of knew, or we suspected this. What was going to happen, or suspected what was the problem. So thanks for digging in. And I did not expect that it was a data type problem. that was the change you made, right?
Right. It's just, yeah.
Okay.
Initialize them to the right data type. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last one that I don't think we've talked about is just this APM planning issue. This is the one that Dove created, just so mostly, I think it's mostly for Dove and Adriel and I to kind of make sure we're going through the process, and we can track.
And we'll do it on every iteration.
Yeah. So I like that, so we can keep track of where we are. Okay. Yeah, we could actually, for that one, we could create a issue template even that has everything in there, so it can only be a couple clicks, and we can have one for the next milestone, like we do for retros and things. Okay, that's it. I think we're out of time, so thank you, everybody. And I tried to take some notes in here, but if I missed stuff, or if you want to change what I wrote because I didn't characterize it correctly, please go in and update it, or add additional comments in the agenda. And then I'll also post the recording as soon as it's done processing. So thank you, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.